So ladies and gentlemen, today's the day. Today's the day that I get to say that I can play a new game from my good buddy, Ken Levine. Oh, Ken. I really need to get a new printer. Anyway, is there nothing that you can do wrong? System Shock, Bioshock... Yeah, that's not the point. The point is the man's a freaking genius, and his talent shines through in the game that I'm going to be reviewing today. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the sequel to Bioshock has finally rolled around. Bioshock 2 doesn't count. Bioshock 1 is one of my favourite games of all time, as it's intelligent, atmospheric, stylish, gripping. Nothing I could say could really do it justice. I'd even go so far as to say that Bioshock is too intelligent for me to properly understand. Half of what Andrew Ryan says just makes me think, I don't know what that means, but it sounds intelligent. I mean, hell, it wasn't until years after I beat the story that I managed to figure out the ending. Maybe that's just because I'm stupid though. And as much as I like to joke about it, Bioshock 2 isn't really that bad, but I did get bored of it pretty quickly, and I never got that far into it. But I mean, it isn't, Ken Levine level. But when Bioshock Infinite was announced all the way back in September 2010, everyone forgot about Bioshock 2 pretty quickly, because this was truly Bioshock, even if it did look like the complete polar opposite from Bioshock. And now that we finally got it, let's play, because honestly, I cannot wait to play this, so I'm not going to stall any longer. Let's get into Bioshock Infinite. I'll admit, from the trailer I was kinda worried. To me, this didn't look like the same Bioshock I fell in love with at all, and in many ways it isn't. There's no Vita chambers, medkits, or hackable machines. Not only that, but I wasn't sure if I liked what Infinite was bringing to the table. A city in the sky? It won't compare to Rapture. The protagonist has a voice? No, he sounds like Nathan Drake. I don't want snappy one-liners in my Bioshock game. Elizabeth's tears just seemed really out of place, and the skylines... Okay, alright, they looked insanely badass. But bottom line, I was struggling to find many connections to Bioshock at all. But now that I played the game, it's easy to see that while this is definitely a different approach, it's still got enough of the Bioshock DNA to keep it familiar. There are still plasmids, vending machines, by the way the vending machines in the Bioshock games are all voiced by Ken Levine, audio logs, the lighthouse that takes you to the city, and above all else, that nostalgic sound that I can't get enough of. Oh, I can't get enough of that noise, it's just so nostalgic. And it's at that point that yeah, this is still definitely Bioshock. Oh, wait a minute. Is that what I think it is? Nice touch. The story in Bioshock Infinite follows Booker DeWitt, who is on a mission to save Elizabeth, a girl trapped in Columbia, the city in the sky. In doing so, he'll be wiped of his debt, which is assumed to be gambling debt, something in the past. I don't know, who cares about that stupid character development crap. So as you can imagine, he's pretty adamant on getting the job done. But before too long, the plot thickens as the city discovers your mission to take the girl, and so want you dead. So it becomes Booker's mission to save the girl and escape the city in the sky. And while the story is a lot bigger and grander this time around, it still has all the little twists and hints that you can expect from a Bioshock game. It does at times capture the feeling of isolation that you get from the first Bioshock, minus the claustrophobia of, being underwater. But while Bioshock Infinite doesn't quite go for the same sense of horror and intensity like the first game, you're still trapped in a bizarrely located city with a bunch of jacked up crazy people with barely any means of escape, so there is that. Speaking of which, the city of Columbia is absolutely stunning, and honestly, I wish there was more opportunity to explore. But, oh man, some of the views in this game are just mesmerizing, and mesmerizing is not a word that a 17-year-old in 2013 uses commonly, but this, Bioshock Infinite, is nothing but complete mesmerizing, to the point where at times I just have to hold the camera for about 5 minutes because I can't believe how cool it looks. It's so beautiful! And apparently there are some story DLCs on the way, so hopefully we have not seen the last of Columbia. One of the most interesting new features to Infinite is the inclusion of Elizabeth, your quote-unquote partner throughout the game. Once Booker rescues her from the tower and Elizabeth gradually learns to stop throwing stuff at him. Like I said before, she can open up tiers to what she describes as other worlds, in which she used to escape to and can sometimes even bring back certain items. This makes Elizabeth a really interesting character, and personally I feel like Elizabeth is one of the best characters I've ever come across in a game. Not only because she doesn't get in the way during combat and supplies you with ammo, health, and even money at times, and not only because you legitimately care about her, to the point where I actually got kind of upset at a point in the game where Elizabeth gets mad at Booker and I actually felt kinda sad and guilty, which is probably a little bit pathetic to admit. Not only because her tears can prove to be incredibly helpful during combat as she can pull through certain allies and weaponry, but because she's realistic. I mean, look at these facial animations. Look at how she interacts with the environment around her. At times, I actually almost forget that I'm not dealing with a real person, and I haven't had an experience like that with a character since, you've probably already guessed it, Alex Vance from Half-Life 2. She never becomes annoying or obnoxious, and she never comes across as a hopeless damsel in distress, which I greatly appreciate. Like I said before, Bioshock Infinite feels very familiar once you get to know it. Plasmids are now Vigors, Eve are now Salts, audio diaries are now Voxophones, but there are certain new additions like gear, clothes that give you certain perks, and vials which let you upgrade a certain aspect of your character. Also other little things that were desperately needed last time round, like being able to sprint. Thank God I can do that now. All of this helps to make the gameplay feel a lot more involved with the world around you, and Booker in particular. The combat also feels very similar to Bioshock. You have one hand for your weapon and your other hand for your Vigor. You can mix these together in an almost combo-y kind of way to dish out more damage, and at times fighting the especially tougher enemies becomes a flurry of fireballs, electric and bullets, which as you can see gets pretty crazy at times. But maybe it's just the way the game handles having Vigors, but I kept forgetting I even had them, and relied on my guns for the most part. That never happened to me in the other Bioshock games, so I'm not sure why this time round the game had to keep reminding me that I could use them at all. But one of the things that really spice up the combat and the gameplay in general is the Skyhook. This allows you to navigate the skylines around Columbia, which let you zoom around the environment like a hurtling roller coaster, from which you can latch onto other vantage points to either get the drop on an unsuspecting enemy, or to make a lucky escape from an otherwise potentially dangerous encounter with the tougher enemies, like the Handyman or the Iron Patriots, which I personally find pretty scary at times, especially on 1999 mode when you've got no health or ammo. Then you walk around a corner and you see him come sprinting towards you with his bloody crank gun. The only negative things I have to say about Bioshock Infinite are really nitpicky, but nevertheless they are things that I took note of while playing, so I guess they're still worth a mention. One is that I found the game a little too short, and this is coming from a guy that takes his time taking everything in when playing games. And I know what you want to say, I too hate seeing people just rush on by without appreciating the scenery or the little things, but I don't know, it felt like I got by it a little bit fast. But when I think about it, I feel like the game was the right length to tell the story it wanted to tell, and apart from a little bit of a lull in the second act, the pacing is done really well, which kinda contradicts me saying that the game is too short, but whatever. The only other nitpick I have, and honestly this isn't even worth calling it a nitpick, don't worry, I'm not gonna mark the game down for this. In the first Bioshock, sometimes the vending machine says, "Come back when you get some money, buddy." But in Bioshock Infinite it says, "Oh come on, that's nowhere near as catchy." Like I said, it's not even a nitpick, but it's something that I noticed. But while I'm here, there are a few specific things that I particularly enjoyed that I want to give a mention here. One, I really appreciate the fact that you see Columbia as a pleasant and peaceful city before it goes crazy. In the first Bioshock, you get an idea of a peaceful Rapture and what happened before you arrived, but here you really see the downfall of the city, which makes it all the more tragic, which I love. So one of my all-time favourite songs makes it into an Easter egg. Which brings me on to another thing, the ending. Now don't worry, of course I'm not going to ruin it, but I am thinking of making a separate video just explaining what I think about the ending, because yeah, it's insanity. Maybe one nitpick I can say about the ending is that it throws everything onto you in the last 20 minutes, but you know, it still explains everything alright, so it's not really a nitpick. And finally, there's no online. I was so happy that for once there was no online, because without that they were able to focus on making the story mode as good as it could possibly be. But then again, saying that, after manoeuvring around on the skyhooks, it makes me wish that there actually was an online mode. Still, there's some DLC on the way, and I have two hopes. That there might be an online mode, because now that the game's out, they have all the time in the world to work on an online mode, or two, something to do with Rapture, because as much as I love Columbia, I still miss me some Rapture. Overall, Bioshock Infinite is one of the best games ever made, in my opinion, and it surpasses Bioshock 1, and definitely Bioshock 2. Everything I didn't think would work about this game just worked flawlessly, and I have almost no problems with this game whatsoever, apart from, like I said, little nitpicks which don't even matter anyway. I know that this review is probably just coming off as one big fangasm, but hey, it is what it is, it's Bioshock. Bioshock Infinite is everything I wanted it to be, and then some. If you enjoy video gaming whatsoever, you owe it to yourself to pick this game up, and the first thing you'll want to do upon finishing the game is playing it all over again. It really is as good as all the reviews say. Ken Levine, I really don't know how you're gonna top yourself in the sequel, because You've really outdone yourself this time round.
And that's pretty much Bioshock Infinite. And it's weird to think that for so long I had doubts about this game, and now that it's finally out, everything I didn't think would work just works completely, and it blows my previous favourite game of all time, Bioshock 1, out of the water. No pun intended. But one last thing I want to talk about before I go. At the time of this recording, one of my biggest inspirations, Roger Ebert, unfortunately passed away due to cancer. It was originally him and Gene Siskel that taught me that, you know, sitting in front of a camera and shouting your opinions to the world like anyone cares was a really fun thing to do. And I really owe it to people like Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here doing what I do today. And so to honour them from this review on, I'm going to be using their rating system of a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you haven't guessed already, I'm going to be giving Bioshock Infinite a major thumbs up. Thanks for watching, everybody. Rest in peace, Roger Ebert.
In the sky, oh, in the sky.
Want to catch up with all the latest Farfetch news? Maybe you want to see some behind the scenes stuff, or just ask me a question? Either way, hit me up on my Facebook page in the description and give me a little old like. Here's some annotations to some of my other videos for those of you that want to hear more of my annoying loud voice. If you like this video, please subscribe, and only subscribe if you enjoyed this video enough. You know, I believe in honest work for honest pay, except in this case, only reward me with your pay if you liked my work enough. You are my currency, and I don't know where this analogy is going. Also, if you haven't already, please comment below, because one of the things I like seeing the most is when it says, you've got a new comment, and I get really excited, and then I click it, and it's like, I liked your review, and then that's like me happy for the day, thinking, oh, someone likes my review, that's me. That's cheered me up. So, you know, if you want to make me feel good inside, deep inside, to the core of my very being, then, I don't know, say you liked my video on the internet. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm currently playing through the game on 1999 mode, and I've just about given up. It's so hard, but I'm gonna do it. I will persevere. So I'm gonna go and carry on doing that. See you next time, everybody.
No, you only live once.
Oh, you did just say that.